The change we saw in 2020 was incredible. From changes in daily interactions to supply chains to healthcare to education, everything was forced to change. And that change was especially apparent and wide-ranging for businesses and how they engage with their customers. We always knew that the relationship with customers was important, but 2020 exposed just how tenuous that relationship really was. It also demonstrated beyond a doubt the outsized role that technology has taken on. From engagement to transaction to communication, technology is a part of every customer relationship and every step along the customer journey. So what did we learn from 2020? We realized once again just how important customers are. And with customers being critical, companies are competing based upon experience. Now, I've been saying this for a while, for quite a while actually, but I really amped it up in 2020 because I really felt this was the defining moment of what the next generation of a customer experience would look like. And the response that I got from so many end user companies was, this is marketing's problem. Let me be clear, this isn't just marketing's problem. It's a priority that impacts every part of your operation and business. In fact, IDC does a number of different surveys every year. And in one of our surveys, we found that 73% of consumers say differentiated experience, not just an acceptable experience, but a differentiated experience is what it takes for a customer to remain loyal. Now, we all know that loyalty drives revenue. And because loyalty drives revenue, that makes it everybody's problem. It's one of the top reasons why companies are spending $1.4 trillion. Yes, that's trillion with a T on digital transformation. Customer experience is the top business function and the primary reason for digital transformation efforts. So how did we get here? Why did it take a year like 2020 to realize this? It's actually kind of simple. We didn't execute well. Let's take personalization, for example. Over and over, we've heard about personalization being the key to a differentiated customer experience. But 2020 exposed this as a lie. Personalization efforts have largely failed to deliver on their promise. Why? Because too often we get it wrong. We misspell somebody's name or we mispronounce it. We personalize the wrong aspect of their customer journey. Let's just be honest, sometimes we just blow it. Here's another one about social media and other channels, because we've all heard that you need to be on every channel your customer's on. So we offered more choices of channels, Facebook, Instagram. We offered apps in the iPhone store and the Android store. The result is that these multiple channels are often more efficient and sometimes even more effective for the customer. But with more channels, the experience often becomes more disconnected. It often becomes more fragmented as customers jump from website to app, on up to the phone, and maybe back to another channel. And then inside our organizations, think of the organization silos that pop up and the missing ROI and the resulting poor experiences. Now, I'm not saying that you shouldn't personalize or offer multiple engagement channels. What I am saying is that you have to focus on those things that add value to the experience in order for you to get digital transformation right. Let me say that again. You have to focus on those things that add value to the customer experience in order for you to get digital transformation right, because that's what this is really about. Digital transformation isn't about offering more channels. It's the right mix of people, processes, and those utilization of digital technologies to deliver that amazing experience that we call contextual empathy at scale. Now, what is contextual empathy at scale? Well, there are multiple types of empathy out there, 3 actually. And the empathy I'm actually referring to is cognitive empathy, the ability to actually understand the person on the other side, not necessarily respond emotionally, but understand and respond appropriately. Contextual empathy is understanding your customer well enough that you can deliver the appropriate experience at the right time and in the right way. And today, that requires technology. Now, like I said, IDC does a number of surveys of end user companies and technology. And in one of our most recent surveys, we specifically looked at post-pandemic technology spending priorities for companies around customer experience. And what we found was that First of all, 48% of companies are investing in customer self-service technologies. It's the number one technology that they're investing in. And when you think about it, this makes sense post-pandemic because companies realized that their customer support staff, their retail staff, all their other staff had to transition to working from home if they could. And so they had to figure out a way to continue on that continuity, that business continuation. And so that's what they did. They moved to self-service and they realized this could happen again in the future. So we need to keep that there. And it's good because it actually has the potential to improve customer self-service, but it kind of removes that human piece from the interaction. And 43% of companies are investing in artificial intelligence software specific to customer experience. Now, there's all kinds of variations of artificial intelligence software. Actually, there's 12 types. But this was the type that was specific to customer experience, the application specific to customer experience. And this is really around better understanding the customer and getting that complete contextual understanding of the nature of that relationship between the customer and the brand. It's also about driving value from data, both internal and customer data, to improve what that experience across the customer journey looks like. Lastly, 42% of companies said they are investing in workflow software to improve the flow of data and processes across the customer journey. Anybody who's dealt with customers knows that customer experience is based upon a journey. From advertising to marketing to sales, support, loyalty, the nature of the customer relationship is around the journey. Workflow applications are critical to effectively moving the right information and data with the customer along that journey. But remember that technology is critical, but not a standalone solution for everything that ails the customer experience. Remember when we thought CRM was going to solve all the customer experience issues? If it did happen, it was only for a second. And then the customer evolved and the business evolved and we had to move on. And CRM was no longer the best solution or the only solution. What we find is that the right set of technology with the right vision going forward is critical to making that customer experience relevant and differentiated. Well, in another IDC survey, we found that more than 20% of companies that were concerned about customer experience said that reducing cost is a priority. Now, this ranges from office costs to technology costs to operational costs. And yes, technology can drive this, but only to a point. We have to remember, again, to use technology to balance between efficiency and effectiveness. And we can't let it go so far that it becomes so efficient that it impacts the effectiveness. 18% of our respondents said that streamlining operations, which is closely aligned with reducing cost, was another priority. What this means is focusing on that Pareto principle or the 80-20 rule, but with a caveat. You know, when we focus on customer experience, we really focus on the experience and engagement with the 20% that drives 80% of the revenue. But we have to do this without alienating the 80% that provides the other 20% of the revenue. Why? Because we have to remember that for many companies in industries like airlines, hospitality, and the restaurants, they have a margin of less than 20%. They can't afford to lose that last 20% of revenue. Lastly, 16% of our respondents said maintaining customer satisfaction is critical. Why is customer satisfaction critical? We've talked about experience, but customer satisfaction is just a little bit different. It's, are they happy with it? You know, are they satisfied with the experience they had, the interaction, the product, the engagement? We have to remember it's not about what a customer says they're going to do, but what they actually do. And that comes down to the ability to deliver a consistent experience across channels. Now, creating an amazing and differentiated customer experience is not easy. And often, too often, technology makes it even more complicated. You know, we have these technology requirements that include orchestration of data, analytics, workflows, intelligence, contextuality, and more to deeply understand the customer. And it has to function across all these steps of the customer journey: marketing, sales, and service. But not just any technology will work. But when it does, when you pick out the right pieces, when you bring them together in the right way, it can be incredible. Let me give you a small example of what this looks like when it works well. Back before the pandemic, I got on a chat window for a customer support with a large multinational company. Now, why do people connect with customer support? Often it's because something's gone wrong. It could be the product, the service, the delivery, even the implementation, but there's been a failure somewhere in the customer experience. Now, I'm an analyst, which means I'm going to test things. I like to test things. I like to see what they do. So being on a chatbot, I'm naturally going to test it to see how it reacts. So I type in the question, are you a chatbot? Now, I've done this multiple times just to try it out, and you see what the programming looks like. And the normal response I get from this is that often the question is just ignored. Sometimes a chatbot might come back and say, I don't understand. Or might even say, let me get you to someone who can help you. And then I'm in the hold queue for another 30 minutes. But given that I'm already here because of a customer experience issue, these types of responses only perpetuates in my mind as a customer that I'm not that important. But this spot that I was on was different. When I typed in the question, are you a chatbot? The immediate response I got was, yes. But like Pinocchio, someday I hope to be a little boy. Now, setting aside all the issues with child labor laws and etc., this response was absolutely brilliant. In all honesty, it made me sit back and laugh. Think about this for a minute. After a poor customer experience and having to spend my time to chat with a customer support center, someone in that company made the decision to have a bit of fun and brighten the mood. This required data and intelligence about who their customers are, what they would likely like, and how they would respond. It required orchestration of business processes and workflow. It required technology, all to shift that experience and completely shift my attitude about the company. Now that we have survived 2020 and reached 2021, we need to realize that when it comes to customer experience, there is no going back to normal. Yes, the stores will open. We'll be able to eat in restaurants again. Our children will be back in school, and we might even be able to not have to wear masks everywhere. But customer engagement, from what customers expect to how companies use people, processes, and technology to engage with them, has changed at a fundamental level, and there is no going back. You are allowed to disagree. You can say your industry or your business is different, but let me assure you it's not. And you can't just do nothing, because I can assure you that at least some of your competitors are doing something about it because they want to differentiate themselves going forward. Let me leave you with three quick ideas that I believe are necessary to compete in 2021 and beyond. First, create a culture that obsesses over customers. Technology can't compensate for a company culture that doesn't care about the customer. Second, use technology to enable, not replace, the human factor. COVID-19 has made this even more apparent, even as we move through a digitalization of almost everything. We live in an age of technology abundance, but a human face and a voice is still critical to creating a differentiated customer experience. Customers now expect automation, but they also expect that a person is easily accessible at a critical decision point in the customer journey. Finally, when it comes to technology, choose technology suppliers that are willing to act and be your partners. The right partner can accelerate your customer experience development, and the results in improved bottom line revenues and so many other benefits in three very important and distinctive ways beyond just the technology. First, they can fill in the skills and the knowledge gap that you might have in this space from their many years of experience and the experts they have in-house. Second, it can speed up your innovation when it comes to customer experience. And third, it can ensure that the solutions that are being put in place are cross-functional and work across the totality of the customer journey. 2020 was a fascinating, and if we're honest, a chaotic year. It really exposed what our weak points are when it comes to delivering that differentiated customer experience. Sun Tzu, the Chinese general and strategist, wrote, "In the midst of chaos, there's also opportunity, and there's opportunity here." The pandemic has given you the opportunity to stand out from your peers and really create that long-term relationship with your customers. It's my personal hope that you grab onto that opportunity and take it for all it's worth.